Howdy folks, this is Big Sam. Today I'm bringing you our next giveaway and I'm super excited about it. In fact, this varmint just showed up from the Ukraine, specifically Kyiv, and a lot of people may be surprised by that because, as you all know, there's an active war going on in Ukraine right now. To my surprise, though, we can actually still get things from the Ukraine. I've had viewers comment that they can have stuff received from the Ukraine in around 2 or 3 weeks. This rascal took closer to 6 weeks to get here. But you know what? That's still really not that bad, all things considered, especially with the ever-evolving situation of Ukrainian logistics and their postal service. So I would say under the conditions, that's perfectly acceptable. So we're going to go ahead and open this guy and see what it is we're dealing with. Alrighty. As y'all could imagine, this has got to be related to Mosin somehow. And it's probably old. And if it's from the Ukraine and I bought it, it probably doesn't smell very good. Of course, not many things Big Sam purchases smells good. We all know this. Boy, you should be thankful smell-o-vision hasn't been invented. We wouldn't have any subscribers. Looks like just some random paper here. This is much better than styrofoam. Those little pesky styrofoam pellets that get everywhere and stick to everything through static electricity. I like that. Cheap and simple. They got it figured out. Alright, we'll take this guy out of the box here. Go ahead and close my knife. Don't want to cut my fingers. That would be bad. Alrighty. And we can see here we have our quarry wrapped in a, well, small little plastic bag. So what I can do here is just pull this guy out and take a look at what exactly it is we have here. Some of it was already sticking out, and that's okay. And looks like he's a little messy, so I'm going to leave him on this paper now. Alrighty. Let me turn this guy around a little bit so y'all can get a better look at him. What do we have here? This is actually very fascinating. What we have here is an original set of Imperial Russian World War I Mosin Nagant wire cutters. Okay, now these are sort of rare, but it really depends on your definition of rare again, because you can actually find a lot of these that have been dug up. And as you can see, this one has probably been dug up from somewhere. But that being said, this one's in pretty good condition. A lot of the ones we see are really bad. Now, I chose this one for our giveaway because this is sort of a novel thing we see pop up from time to time. For one reason, because, well, you know, Ukraine, who knows how much longer we're able to get stuff from them. Hopefully a lot more, but now's not a bad time to buy stuff from them if there's something we're interested in. That's mainly where we find these things, although we do sometimes find them for sale in some of the Baltic countries, such as Estonia and Latvia. Now, again, a lot of these are in really bad shape, and one of the other reasons I picked this one up is because they already went through the process of cleaning this up. A lot of these, if you get them, you just pick it up and 20 pounds of rust just immediately falls off of it. Really kind of nasty. This one has been cleaned up, as you can see, and it's honestly not that bad. Now, some of you might be saying, Big Sam, that's rough. Well, I think it's pretty objective that this is in fact rough, but if we compare this to some of its other counterparts in the market, or that have been on the market lately, this is not that bad, especially considering they already went through the process of cleaning this guy up. Okay, now, basically none of these exist in like brand new condition. So whenever you find one of these, typically it was dug up. Now, how does this thing work? Okay, like I mentioned, these are wire cutters. So our actual cutting apparatus, and I really don't want to cut my finger off, so I'll just sort of point to it with my knife here, but we can see it's right here is the apparatus for cutting. And this guy, well, we're going to figure out how this guy works, but he might actually still function. So obviously this guy's still got some oil in him, but we have this apparatus, okay? Now, a lot of these use some sort of spring tension, and this guy perhaps may be no different. I'm trying to remember how this guy's supposed to work here. Okay, so this is essentially a lever that rotates. See that? And as he rotates, if I'm holding it this way clockwise, you're going to see the jaws of death slowly close. See that? So you can say what you want about Russian stuff, but folks, this was buried for 100 years in not very nice places, specifically acidic soil with a relatively high acidic content, and this thing eroded, still works just fine. I mean, what more can you really ask for? Stuff back then was just built a lot differently than it is today. Much heavier duty, just built to not be able to die. I mean, this thing was lost in, up until that point, the most horrible conflict in world history, was buried under acidic ground for 100 years, dug up and found itself in yet another active war zone, and is now here on the channel. This thing has had, well, an interesting life. How does this thing work, though? How do we mount this to something? Well, we can see here this piece is hollow, and we have this wing nut that we can loosen here, okay? And what this would allow us to do, we can actually, oh, this guy, I gotta have to pull him down so I can actually loosen this, but you can see now this guy moves. So what happens here is you have this little T-shaped bolt, essentially. Instead of a head at the top, it has this T-shape. So you get this T-shape in here through this notch, like that, and then you can, essentially what you should be able to do, am I understanding that correctly? There we go, is twist it such that he is now locked in, such that this guy can't come out. And then if I loosen the wing nut, I can turn that T again, and then open this guy up. So I should be able to wrap this around the front of a Mosin Nagant rifle. Now, specifically, this one probably would have been on some sort of M91 rifle, but also possibly a old Dragoon rifle, because we have seen pictures of Dragoons using these to cut things like telegraph lines up in the air. So, who's to say? This one's a little bit different than the last one we looked at, though, because we've looked at wire cutters before, and the first one we looked at essentially had this huge arm that would swing, and so essentially you would take that arm, wrap it around something, and then pull, and then it would cut it. This one is a little bit different. There's no arm. What you have instead is you have this lever here, and you just essentially just have this fixed block with the two jaws in it. So it works a little bit differently, but it's really supposed to do the same thing. You're supposed to be able to cut wire, whether that be barbed wire or telegraph wire, whatever that may be, is really depending on your use case or your need at the time. But if we take a closer look at the jaws, we can actually see they're in not that bad shape. I mean, for the ones that I've seen come up on the market, this one's not that horrible, folks. I mean, it's perfectly functional. I mean, this probably wouldn't win any beauty contests that I'm aware of, but it doesn't really need to. This wasn't built to win beauty contests. This was built to cut wire. So all in all, really interesting. Now, some of these were also used for mounting on like poles or lances, essentially really long things. This one I do believe was actually meant to be mounted on a rifle, though. So, because this is a Mosin channel, this would have been on a Mosin, and, well, that's pretty cool. So, since I know a lot of y'all are probably interested in Mosins, because this is a Mosin channel, I thought this would be a really interesting giveaway to have, something we haven't really seen before. And I figured maybe, since these aren't that common here in America, and of all the ones that I've seen, this is probably the nicest one so far. This would be a great candidate for another cool Big Sam giveaway. So that's what we're going to do. Now, how do you enter to win this varmint? Well, all you got to do is comment down below on this video, and you'll automatically be entered to win this guy. Okay? And then probably in around a month or so, we're going to be doing the giveaway video. So we typically let our giveaways go for a few weeks up to a month, like around a month. So probably sometime in early August of 2022, we'll be actually putting out the giveaway video and announcing our winner for these cool wire cutters. And I'll definitely be notifying y'all when that's coming up, so stay tuned. But so you don't forget, make sure to comment on this video and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell on this channel, because if you get notified or if you're announced you're the winner, you want to make sure you get notified that you're the winner. Now, YouTube isn't always the best at giving you notifications even when you're subscribed, so I would recommend just checking back here fairly often, every day or two, because if we announce you as a winner, we give you 3 days to shoot me an email with shipping info that I can have this mailed to. If you don't contact me within 3 business days, 72 hours of that initial announcement that you have won, then we're gonna have to announce a new winner, and I don't want that because, well, it's hard enough to actually win a giveaway, but then losing it because you didn't follow through the procedure and protocols, that's just the worst. So don't be that guy. But overall, this is a really interesting piece, and I hope y'all are excited about it. Got a little messy. I mean, this thing's a little dirty, but again, they did do a pretty good job of cleaning this guy up, and this is way more presentable than it probably was when it was initially found. Remember, guys, this thing was buried in the ground for 100 years, and it still works, and it comes from a war zone, an active war zone. So there's a lot of just neat history here going on. And again, something we just really don't see here in the United States. Let me tighten this guy back here. Now, if you do want to mount this, or try to mount this on a rifle, I haven't tried it yet. This could be bent and may not fit. This is really intended for display purposes. But again, in theory, this should function. I would probably try to clean it up a little bit more, because you can see my fingers got a little dirty for this, so I'm going to have to go wash them. But it's really, again, it's not that bad. This is just cool. This is almost kind of steampunk. Kind of like a hybrid between steampunk and just medieval. I mean, this thing is just gnarly. And this does have a nice heft to it. This probably weighs at least, I don't know, maybe at least a kilogram. I mean, it's lost a little bit of weight from all the pitting, but this is still a hefty chunk of steel. Ooh, I love it, folks. So I hope y'all are excited about this next giveaway. Thanks for watching, and make sure to comment below so you can enter to win this guy. And subscribe. Tell your friends if you like this kind of stuff. If you like Mosin Nagant content, make sure to have them check out the channel. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if y'all got any prayer requests, and we'll see you next time.